Today's release brings back the idea of optional updating. So you may receive a message in green down here that an update is available. Instead of automatically updating itself, you will get this message now for most updates. There still may be required updates that come out that will automatically update, but for the most part, everything from here on is going to be an optional process. So you can do your check for updates, and this will actually give you the update prompt if an update were available. There were a couple of fixes in this release. First off, we have the shell extensions where some of them were breaking after an update. Speaking of updates, for example, examine file was breaking after an update, and that has now been fixed. Another fix is relatively minor. If you receive the check event log alert and double click it, or if you go to the d7x tools tab and launch the event log viewer, you should see that now when you have an event that you want to search the web for, say search the web for the full event details. Previously there was some extra URL encoding going on, so you would see instead of this quote you would see like %22. That has been resolved, so that's just a little minor fix. Finally, we have the re-edition of the offline tab. The offline tab is intended only for targeting a partition to work on that is not the currently running operating system. So for example, when you're booted from a WinPE boot disk to do some repairs offline on that offline Windows partition, or if you're attaching a customer's hard drive to a TechBench computer and you need to do some repairs on that customer's hard drive, say perhaps it can't boot. One of those good things is disable the auto reboot on blue screen of death and enable mini dumps, and that will let you actually see what the blue screen is and also configure Windows to generate mini dumps so you can analyze those. This actually just loads the registry from the offline partition and makes the tweaks necessary to make that happen. You can also see the latest mini dump up here if any were found, and if you double click it, it would launch Nearsoft's blue screen view, which would let you analyze the mini dump and see what was going on. You also have up here the user profile directory, Windows directory, suspected operating system. What you want to do anytime that you click on this tab is it will attempt to automatically select the target partition that it thinks is offline. So for example, I actually have an offline hard drive loaded right now in this virtual machine. Currently the C drive is our Windows 7, which is aha. And just to be clear, you never really want to run this offline operations on the currently running OS. So for example, even if I were to select C, if you refresh the drive listing or you move back and forth between tabs, it should go back to what it thinks is the offline partition, which in this case is correct. It is the E drive. This is a Windows 10 hard drive that I have attached to this virtual machine. The Windows 10 hard drive actually has a few things going on with it, and I'll demonstrate Locksmith in another video. And that is for password removal of the Windows account. And I will stress that that does not work on Microsoft accounts, by the way. That is for local accounts only. The offline tab was available in D7.2, and most of it's been restored, with the exception of a few tools such as Fix IDE, which was a tool that fixed a blue screen when you swapped motherboards on Windows XP, and sometimes it would work on Vista as well. All of that minor functionality has not made it back, but all of the major functionality has, such as our password removal, our locksmith, our tweaks that allow us to examine the mini dumps and such. And we also have registry tools. You can edit the offline registry. When you click this, it will, much like the tweaks, but this will load the registry hives for the offline hard drive. It loads them under the name guest underscore and then what the hive name is. So as soon as you click OK, you're going to receive regedit pop up, and then you'll have your guest underscore hives. Here's your system hive, software hive. There's your user drive. The user is Mr. Who, and if you have multiple users on that system, it will load the registry hive for each user. And then here's your default user hive. As soon as you close Regedit, it will then remove those registry hives from Regedit. You can confirm that if you wish by actually launching Regedit. And now you see under local machine you do not have the guest hard drives. It's also important to note that it always loads the guest hard drives under local machine. Finally, we also have our malware removal tool, or helper tools, the Malware Search Tool. You can start this under the local system account or not. This will launch this automatically with the target partition in tow, or in target. You can see operation on E drive up here. And this does all of your, this will actually also load the registry from the offline partition and inspect the file system for the file system inspection. So all of this operates on the offline partition just as it would on the live system. And then we have our IFEO Modifier. This is how you prevent programs from running. I'll launch our IFEO Modifier. This will also then load the registry of the offline drive to make the necessary tweaks. You can actually see I already have an IFEO in here for notepad.exe. This is something I was just doing to test and make sure that this worked as I release the functionality again. And it does, yay. So now notepad.exe will never be able to run on the offline partition. Where this is good is if you have malware that's running on a system that you can't get it to stop running, then you can use the IFEO modifier to prevent that malware from running. Why this is important on the offline tools tab is just in case you can't get the system to boot up all the way, or you can't get the system to run d7x when you're on that currently running operating system, then you can attach that to your TechBench computer or boot from WinP boot CD and go ahead and create the IFEO so that that malware doesn't run. All you need to know is the executable name. That way you can then boot up the system normally and that malware won't be able to run, and that will allow you to do your removals and make your repairs. And finally, we have the custom apps area for our offline tab. The majority of these will not run offline. And the reason is because the app isn't smart enough to run offline. It always thinks that you're running on the OS that you're running on, that's currently running. Some of these apps will allow you to do it, and there are some custom profiles which will allow you to do it. And mostly these are just a few virus scanners. Your Viper Rescue Scanner will actually run offline, and there's a reason for that. If we go to configure app/function, when you right click and you go to execution, this is how you know that this runs offline. When you look at the app command line parameters, the path points to %tdrive%. What that's doing is it's pointing it to the target drive that d7x is operating on, which in this case is the E drive. So now you know Viper Rescue Scanner is one of those apps that will run on an offline partition, and you know that because of this variable here in the command line parameters under Execution tab. That's about the only app I believe that does use that, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you now just your various flavors of the Viper Rescue Scanner. But you can add a few other apps here. I'll go ahead and do a right click to add an app. And then just type offline in your search box. And you'll notice that we have MBR check offline, McAfee Stinger offline. Do your right click to drag and drop. And the A2CMD offline, that's a good one. So MBR check is kind of worthless, I think, these days, but we can just drop it there and use it anyway. And now these apps are special offline profiles that are designed to run on the target partition. That does it for the release notes, and I will be releasing a video soon after to demonstrate using Locksmith on the Windows 10 hard drive that I have mounted here. Hope this has been of some help to you. Thanks for watching.